Okay. Hi. So, this video is not scripted. It'll mostly be improv, which means I'm going to probably be misspeaking a lot, but I don't care, because this is something I want to talk about right now, so we're going to be talking about it. Yay! So, I am Peri. I was the former vice president of the new Paltz LARP club, and I am here to talk to you about something. Now, initially, the video I was planned to talk about was learning curves, and when you can start learning things, and instead I'm actually going to talk about something that's very related. I want to talk to you about knowing things in game and what you can do. Now, this is different in every LARP, and I'm going to be specifically talking about the new Paltz LARP. And the reason I want to talk about the new Paltz LARP is that because it meets once a week, and it does not uphold certain rules that are very important. One rule being the what you see is what you get rule. So in this case, you can actually tell the GM, I do this, as opposed to doing it, because your character might be able to do it, but you can't. And even if that isn't, even if you do remove that from the equation, you still have the fact that because we are a club with only one GM and not a lot of marshals / mods, whatever you call them, moderators, that you kind of do need to be more specific and more, purposeful with it. So I'm going to just tell you a few things. First of all, no LARP ever expects you to know everything. Alright? You might know someone who knows everything, and you know why they probably know something? Because they're a huge nerd. Or, they've been there for a long time. Alright? And you might think, oh, I'll never reach that level, and chances are you probably won't. But if you go for a few years, you'll see someone else show up, and they'll know less than you. And I think that is one of the most important things you have to know, is that you don't have to know everything. LARP worlds are made with the intrinsic fact of not knowing everything. Alright? Second of all, is depending on the LARP you go to, the amount of creativity is very imperative. So in our LARP, for instance, you could literally go up to the GM and say, alright, I want to start a knitting circle that is worshipping the void, and I'm gonna make them a cult now. Okay. And the GM will say, alright, sure, how are you doing this? And then you'll say, I do this, this, and this. And then they'll say, alright, how do you do this? And you say, I do this, this, and this. And if you do it right, usually with your role-playing properly and your out-of-game mechanics, for instance, buying property would be a good way to do it for our game. Congratulations, you now have a cult. And if you say, alright, hey, I want this cult to strap a bunch of scrolls on their chest and go attack this place, they can do that. They can literally do that. Like, you just have to put in the amount of time in role-playing, but talking to your GM is super imperative about it. Another thing is, oh, your character starts to do research about something. Alright, well, guess what? Research isn't just you finding the out-of-game documents. A lot of it can be saying, hey, person who I know in-game knows this stuff, can you tell me what I know? Or, hey, GM, I go to the library and I look at this stuff. What does that tell me? And the GM can link you to the proper documents, link you to the highlights, or send you to the proper people who know their stuff. And the best part is, you don't actually have to know all of it all the time. You can just keep notes on certain things. Keeping a notebook, actually, of just the stuff you do want to know, like little bullet points, is not a bad idea, and you can just reference it pretty easily. So if you do have a bad memory, I would recommend just keeping little mini notes of just the most important parts. And if you don't remember it all, that's not a big deal. Like, I don't know most about the LARP and I helped make it. People look at me, and I know demons, and I know stuff like that, but that's because I helped make it. And I think people have had a skewed perspective on that, and I think people don't always understand that the people who know a lot of things is either A, helped to make it, B, have spent years working with it, or C, are just that type of person. The stuff I know best is the stuff that I have interacted with extensively. For instance, I know a lot of the gods really well because I had a character who was really religious, and I researched the gods, but I didn't actually know a lot of them. It wasn't until they started getting involved in plot, because we're having a god plot, that I actually started knowing almost all the gods, and even now, I still don't know some of them, and I don't bother to know them because they never became relevant. For instance, we have dwarves Perigades. I don't know all of them. I wrote the names down, but I don't remember them. I've never had to. It's never been relevant in plot. I look like I know things, but I've only ever known stuff because I've been in a LARP for 4 years, and have thus been able to accumulate a lot of information, and that just comes with time. So, even if you do have a character who knows this stuff, you don't have to remember everything. And depending on your GM, they might give you some slack or not. Usually you'll want the proper stuff. For instance, if you know stuff about animals in-game, but you don't, you might want to take a profession that suits it to it. But even then, that's mostly our LARP specific, and other LARPs, they're a bit more strict on that. So anyway, back to my example. Here's another thing. You need to get into a building. and the door is locked. And what do you do? Well, that depends. What can you do? For instance, now this is really stupid, but maybe you're a dual-wielding dagger person. Well, you could always use the daggers to scale the wall. I mean, that'd kind of be stupid, but like the thing is, you could do that. You could try it out. You could use blood magic or air magic to propel yourself upwards. You can use like spirits to try and help you out. You can literally do anything with the skills you have in terms of roleplay, so long as you justify it properly, especially when you do private interactions that are moderated by the GM, usually either after LARP or on Facebook or something like that. What you can do with it is only limited by your creativity and what the GM already knows doesn't work certain ways. This is usually more obvious when people write stories. So that's the thing. You can literally do anything in LARP. You just have to talk to the people in charge to get it done. And you can get anything done in-game in LARP if you just push it right. For instance, I played a character who was very disruptive, and they ended up getting leadership overturned because I had a bunch of people sign a petition, and then I showed it to our person in charge. That wasn't planned. That wasn't something I knew would work. That wasn't something that I talked to the GM ahead of time. That was just something I did because my character's a soccer mom. But it still worked because I happened to accidentally hit a few of the right notes, and I'm a good enough arguer that the things are done. But that wasn't me knowing how the world worked. That was literally me just punching every little thing until I hit one that worked. You know, if you want something to happen to someone and you go and say, well, they don't help you, can't do anything about it, that's not going to do anything. But if you go to every single group, every single person, every single thing, you'll find something that works. Basically, if something doesn't work, you shouldn't give up on it. You should just think of different strategies and different solutions. Because, for instance, when I did the petition thing, I first talked to the commander. He said no. I talked to the guy who gave us our missions, Elder Cupboard. He said no. I kept trying to argue for it. Another PC yelled in my face and said, no, this is not right. And I kept going. There's a certain degree of persistence that you have to keep doing if you want something to succeed. And it might not always succeed, but I think it's something that's worth keeping in mind. Basically, the fact that as long as you keep trying at something, you will find the crack in the system that lets it go, because this world is very functioning, very breathing, and allows for a lot of stuff to happen. Furthermore, you don't actually have to know a lot of stuff about the world to be successful in things. All you have to know is the stuff you do really well. If all you do is dodge, then just know that that's what you have and that's what you can do. So when something comes, you know, be like, can I dodge it? And then, hey, maybe you can, and then you'll see what happens. If all you have are ice spells, then you're like, well, can I do something to set this with ice? Like, basically, you don't have to know how all the system works. You just have to know how your stuff works and try to be creative about it. And you can basically get a lot of stuff out of that. You just have to know that while mechanics work a specific way, and in combat they always have to work that way, when it comes to puzzles, when it comes to role-playing, when it comes to one-on-one GM interaction, you have way more opportunities to do things. And don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to do things. We love LARP. We love this game, and I think it's really important that we as a people come together and realize that part of the fun of LARP is doing stuff that, you know, is never been done before, or is interesting, or is creative, and that does involve kind of like sucking in anxiety and saying, hey, I want to do this, so I'm going to try to do this until I succeed. Or if I fail, then it'll be interesting for my character because it'll create conflict and plot. Yeah, so if you have any questions, you can talk to me, or you can talk to someone else. Please talk to me. I have a lot of experience about this, and it kind of came natural to me, and I have noticed that recently, that at least in New Paltz LARP, there hasn't been a lot of stuff like that, so yeah.